Now, first you might be saying, Kevin, I'm about to cause a riot because you already reviewed the RiotPWR October 31st of last year. In fact, it was a white and lime green variant. It was an Xbox exclusive that didn't work on the Xbox console. Yeah, that was a layer of confusion that I had to peel back before we got to the meat of the review. But au contraire, mon frere, patience is a virtue, and thank you for waiting the 5 seconds before clicking off so I could explain that this is a slightly different variant that uses dual modes of connectivity. USB-C, as even Apple is starting to move towards that. We saw it with the iPad Pro, but yet still has a lightning connector in case you want to go wired for a latency-free or realistically a low latency experience on iPhones. And this bad boy has magnetic Hall effect triggers, not thumbsticks. You got all excited. You were on the edge of your seat. Is that anti-stick drift? That's the future of controllers? Taper it back a couple of notches. Now, because at its core, this controller is virtually identical to the controller I reviewed October 31st, I'm going to review this controller like every other tech reviewer on YouTube. This isn't to crack shots or anything, but it's going to be kind of willy-nilly, just 10 or 15 minutes of me spilling my thoughts about this controller, as opposed to the structured categorized videos where I go component by component, part by part on the controller, leading up to a cons, pros, and verdicts section at the end where I go over, is this a good price to performance or bang for buck? You're still going to get that sweet treat at the end. That original review will be linked in the description below. We're strictly going to focus on the differences with this new updated version, which from the cosmetic standpoint alone, if you weren't a big fan of that vibrant lime green, it was a little bit too gaudy for you. This all blacked out version might be a better mobile controller for you. Let's get it. This is your controller captain. We've reached 6,900 feet. Go ahead and start flicking the sticks and mollywopping the back paddles. You don't like back paddles? How about those rear buttons? We've tested almost 100 custom and premium controllers, and we're only at the beginning. You need a thumbstick guide or tutorial on how to overclock your controller? Check out the controller playlist. Bing bong. Controller captain out. A quick disclaimer for my audience, the Stallions and Stallionettes. This controller was sent for review, but this is going to be an honest, comprehensive review. I haven't been paid or told to say anything about it, so if there's any cons, shortcomings, or areas of improvement, you're going to hear about it. So these companies make better products over time. Now, to get some confusion out of the way right up front, this controller is virtually identical, part by part, component by component, to two other versions of this controller that already pre-exist. The white and green version for Xbox, which I reviewed previously. I say for Xbox, it has an Xbox button, Xbox face button layout, but it does not work on the Xbox One or Series consoles. It is strictly only for iPhone. And then the ESL controller, which had kind of a highlighter yellow color. But all three of those controllers are the same, minus a few ports and connectors. The ESL and Xbox controller are identical other than the cosmetic color. This version, instead of having a permanently affixed cable, you now have two options for connectivity, Lightning or USB-C.
Hostile UAV in this sector.
As for packaging, included accessories, you do have this white outer box. You do have a clear wafer sticker on the top and bottom, which will need sliced. And if you wanted to pause the box to read some of the key features, there is the outer box. I can get closer to you. God, keep her steady with the shaky hands there. Now, you have a 30-day limited warranty system if you do not activate or register your controller. But if you do register it, you actually get a limited lifetime warranty. What is it limited to? It's going to be manufacturing defects or workmanship, craftsmanship defects and whatnot. So obviously that is not going to cover stick drift 6 months down the road. That's not going to cover a jammed in face button after you've owned it past the 90-day return policy. It would be things like, wow, this came to me with a really warped front faceplate or some serious gouges in the plastics or something like that, or the battery was defective right out of the box. Now, as this is a mobile controller, of course, you are going to have Ludo Map, which is going to be a mobile phone launcher or basically organizer for games. I personally am not a fan of any of those type of programs, not just this app, but any mobile game launcher or organizer. I generally like to launch them individually. I know you don't have the same amount of control, but I just don't like to have a bunch of third-party applications installed on my phone that I barely use because I'm not a big mobile gamer. But the other QR code will take you to a digital or PDF document instruction manual, as well as the page to register this controller to get that lifetime warranty activated, or else you're just going to have that 90-day in place. A little bit of white cardboard in here. You do have a moisture wicking bag holding your controller in place with a clear wafer sticker on the back. And in this little piece of cardboard, there's no physical instruction manual, so you're going to have to scan that QR code, which is going to take you to digital instruction manual. The two included accessories are going to be this phone clip mount, which I actually do like where it mounts on the controller. Feels feels incredibly secure and also is in a good place for visibility and comfort, as you don't have excess weight hanging off the front of the controller, an entire phone and case's weight, maybe even a power bank hanging off the top of your controller. That's a silly design. You don't have that with this clip here. Over here, you do have a Velcro tie back, which does stay permanently affixed, and you do have a very interesting, definitely proprietary cable on this end with 4 contact pads, which will slip into the back of the controller. And then you have a USB-C port over here with an L-bend, a 90-degree elbow, if you will. And then for safety on the left, but not right analog stick, you have this little foam block, kind of a divider to keep the packaging from pressing down on those analog sticks. Speaking of analog sticks, a fantastic change here is the last version had pretty janky, hard plastic, not grippy at all thumbsticks, and these ones are actually stupendously grippy. Probably the grippiest out-of-the-box thumbsticks I have felt in a long time, especially in this price point. Maybe the dome sticks of the DualSense Edge would be tied for grip. Also a $200 controller, and this is a $70 controller I have in hand. You have to make that little price differentiation there. Differentiation? That's not a real word. You're gonna split your transmission and your differential. There's a difference between the two. That's all I'm trying to say here. God, you're articulate. Also, a quick little bravo to the fact this controller is almost completely flat or matte plastic, with the only gloss or piano black being on the face buttons and the accessory button suite. The D-pad is not only cosmetically different, but also feels night and day better on this version. Actually, it looks almost identical on camera, but from this angle, you can see a little bit better that there is more of a 4-point D-pad on the Xbox version, as this is more of a hybrid wheel, actually almost identical to the metal wheel that you get on the Elite Series controllers, but plastic, of course. It does feel a lot more secure. It's also substantially quieter than the previous version, and I will say, since it's more of a wheel, less of a 4-point D-pad, roll-offs and diagonal inputs are much easier. So if you're playing fighting games, beat-em-ups, that's a good thing. Face button, bumpers, and accessory buttons are identical, but where the differences are going to be is in the D-pad, the thumbstick caps being much more grippy, and the triggers now being magnetic. Probably why I'm drawn to them.
Tractor beam. Sucked me right in.
I just noticed something now that I did not notice in my initial review of this controller, and it is apparent on this controller as well. There is little PlayStation face buttons or symbols, little PS icons on the side grips, and while that's awesome, it actually comes on the stock DualSense controllers. I really hope that RiotPWR does have the licensing for that, or Sony just doesn't see this video or any other videos or pictures that point this out, because they're real sticklers for their IP, including the PlayStation symbols. Down the road, I do see PowerA might needing to do a revision with just some rubber grips or some lines or, you know, some dots, or not these face buttons. One of my favorite things about this controller is going to be where you actually mount the phone clip. It is actually dead center in the controller, which I feel is very nice. If you have a big, heavy phone, or you have a power bank strapped to the back of that because you plan on doing some gaming and you're on the go, it's a very nice place to mount your phone because the weight is basically low slung and also centered in the controller, as opposed to those clips that hang off the top of the controller, which adds a lot of wrist fatigue, especially in long gaming sessions, because it's just not well balanced. The best option comfort-wise for mobile gaming is definitely going to be those backbone or jawbone, what are they called? You know what I'm talking about, those clips that hold the phone in the center. Those are phenomenal. Backbone, that's the one. Have a backbone. But this is a very close second. As for the triggers, they're a night and day step up from the last version, which just had standardized triggers. They do have a lot more resistance and they do feel buttery smooth. Also, they should last substantially longer. They don't have a tap life cycle or anything like that, but since they are magnetic Hall effect triggers, in essence, they should be a lot more durable than the standard triggers. Something to point out here, I'm not going to say it's a deceptive practice on the landing page or anything like that, but this word digital is used very commonly interchangeably with mechanical, and a lot of time gamers see digital and think, it's got mechanical face buttons. It does not. They're still membrane. They still have that squishy plunger mechanism underneath the front faceplate. I just want to point that out, that damn near every button on this controller is labeled as digital. It is not mechanical. They are still membrane switches. Your cable's only 24 inches or 60 centimeters. Not a big deal because you're connecting directly to your phone. The manufacturer confirmed weight and dimensions of this controller. Ooh, wow, it's a big old compatibility chart. All the way back to your first gen iPad mini, which I know you've got sitting around in the closet collecting dust. RiotPWR, what are we doing here? I just scanned that QR code to go to the product registration page, and the first thing I'm getting is a dang pop-up ad over here from the website. I understand you're trying to plug the promotions and whatnot, but on the product registration page, I've already bought from you. Let me register the controller. You already hooked me. Don't keep reeling me in, sweetheart. And then when I close that pop-up, it actually just hovers over here on the side the whole time, reminding me to spin the wheel whenever I want. I really don't like this swappage method. It'd be great if it was a toolless disassembly or swap where you just press with your thumb and then pulled up. However, there is a little tiny hole right there, which you will need plugged with. Never mind, a pin is actually too thick for that little hole, so I'm gonna go grab a needle for my sewing kit. I don't have a sewing kit. Cell phone sim popper tool. That'll work. Plug the hole in with your other hand. I'm gonna hold it with my neck. Should just pop out like that. Now, interestingly enough, it says in the instruction manual that this is only to be done for repair purposes. The bottom in fine print, it also says that you can just swap between the two cables. Another diddly dope feature that this controller has is going to be pass-through charging. So you use your lightning cable, which you already use to charge your iPhone at night. You plug that into the bottom of here, and then you're using the other lightning cable to plug into your phone, and that's just going to pass through charging while you're playing. But unless you're using a power bank, you're still going to be plugged to your wall, thus making you tethered and not really portable or on the go. Something to keep in mind. As for PC compatibility, there simply is none. Like the previous version that I reviewed on the channel, you cannot force this into D input or X input mode. There's no communication with the PC there whatsoever. You cannot force driver support through Steam or DS4 Windows or DSX, ReWASD, or any of the fun toolbox goodies that we like to diddle around with on the channel. But even if you could, I wouldn't recommend this as a PC controller, considering this has a $70 price point, and part by part, component by component, just using a standard Xbox or PlayStation controller, which you probably have lying around or could pick up used for about $40 on Amazon, would work the same, if not better. If you can swallow the pill of spending $70 US on a mobile only, and not both mobile platforms, iOS specific, this bad boy won't work with Android. Just because it has that USB-C cable, it doesn't have any compatibility or communication with Android devices or PC. If you do all your gaming on Apple, or a big majority of it, you're primarily an Apple gamer, maybe you bounce between your iPad and your iPhone, this is a great option for you. You do have that phone clip mount, which is their zero gravity clip, little marketing gimmick name, but it does provide a very fatigue-free mobile gaming grip. I also think this controller is very comfortable, as it is identical to an Xbox One or Series controller. The shell or shape design is identical dimension-wise, or if not identical, very similar. And you do have the option of using USB-C or Lightning, which I do really like. This is linked in the description below if you want to check it out, and I'll see you Stallions and Stallionettes tomorrow. Oh yeah, comment section. What do you think of this thing? Peace. If you enjoyed the video, liking it helps it to get seen by more gamers. This information will reach and assist them as well, which in turn helps me grow this little channel, which I do greatly appreciate. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover news in the gaming community and industry, tutorials helping you get set up streaming and YouTubing, as well as honest gaming product reviews, keyboards, mice, headsets, controllers, mics, chairs, etc. There are some hefty exclusive discount codes found only in the description of my videos and only for the audience here at GamerHeaven. I have links to all my other platforms and socials in the description below. To get in touch with myself and the Stallions and Stallionettes of GamerHeaven, join the community Discord, and check me out at twitch.tv, where I go live every other leap year on a blue moon if it falls into an odd calendar number, and my pH balance is on point. Just kidding, starting June I'm going to be live streaming a lot. Thanks for watching. This has been AK40 Kevin hosting GamerHeaven, and I'll see you tomorrow, because I upload daily, all the time, 60% of the time, sometimes, most of the time. Peace.